Hello, welcome to my Splash Talk. My name is Kelly Blumenthal. I am currently affiliated with the International Astronomical Union and Leiden University in partnership with the Kavli Institute to develop evidence-based science communication training for astronomers. Our ultimate goal is to shift the way that astronomers communicate with the public, focusing on the recommendations of the science of science communication, and in particular, strategic science communication. To do this, in 2020, we performed a needs assessment study of the international astronomical community through a survey with optional follow-up interviews. We probed two different but sometimes overlapping audiences: the astronomers, who are typically researchers who participate in outreach and public engagement, and the national outreach coordinators who coordinate outreach at a national level. We had a total of 128 responses and followed up with about 55 people for an hour-long interview. We covered a wide variety of topics, including preparation, assessment, preferences, priorities, institutional culture, and barriers. For a little more information on our findings, please take a look at my poster. But for now, I'd like to switch gears and talk about the science of science communication. A large part of our preparation for developing this training program has been a literature review, focusing on the research surrounding strategic science communication. Besley et al. In 2018 and 2019 applied what's known as the theory of planned behavior to science communication in an attempt to better understand scientists' willingness to engage in a science communicative behavior. In particular, they talk about the strategic science communicator as one who defines a goal, objectives en route to that goal, and skills that help the communicator achieve those objectives. Now, goals are long-term desired outcomes. An example of a goal might be that the public will think that science is an important and legitimate source of information. Objectives are short-term and match the goal. They lead the communicator on a path toward the goal and must be directly impacted by communication. The objective is often some kind of behavior change, one that matches the larger goal from before, like opting to use scientific websites to look up information. The skills you choose to use should be specific to the objectives that you've just defined. Continuing the example from before, you might decide to engage in two-way communication about people's beliefs surrounding sources of scientific information. Now, all of this literature produces many recommendations for the scientific community that unfortunately just don't get heard. In fact, one of the main recommendations is that science communicators should familiarize themselves with the science of science communication. For example, evidence suggests that two-way communication leads away from deficit thinking. In particular, Besley writes that, quote, "The transition of science communication practices to knowledge-building models requires considering the public as an active co-constructor and user of scientific information," end quote. It's also been suggested that one way to diminish our reliance on one-way communication, what's typically referred to as outreach, is to engage in citizen science campaigns. Besley also suggests to encourage practitioners to move towards strategic science communication, and that we need large-scale buy-in of this process. Thinking a little larger than just the individual scientist level, Intreras and Bauer in 2019 noted that institutions need to expand the resources they provide and to try to foster intrinsic motivation. Bennett et al. In 2019 had several suggestions for training programs, namely that they teach theory, that they incorporate ideas from psychology and public relations, and that they're tailored to help scientists figure out how to prioritize their efforts and style. So now that we're in the development stage of designing this training program, we've intentionally involved the international astronomical community in deciding how this will be structured, who this will target, and the content that we'll cover. During the Communicating Astronomy to the Public conference in late May, we hosted a virtual workshop describing the results of the needs assessment study, presenting our findings from our literature review, and brainstorming some ideas for how to move forward. Now, as of this recording, there's some suggestion that a broader discussion of the theory behind strategic science communication may actually be better suited for the so-called meso-level players. For example, these could be outreach coordinators at institutions and universities. Considering that individual scientists often have significant time restraints and little institutional support. We will be hosting at least 2 more community-led sessions in the month of June and hope to run an in-person pilot in September that will serve as an evaluative focus group. Thank you for your attention. Please feel free to contact me if you'd like to talk about anything that I've mentioned here. I would be happy to hear from you.